AFDB Group provides $400,000 grant to support capital market development. CBN's new Naira for dollar scheme takes effect today. Oil slips after hitting pandemic high above $70 a barrel. Plus, Business Express today takes a look at the role of Afcfta towards economic recovery and growth of Africa. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. We begin with a fraud alert as the attention of the management of Nassau Microfinance Bank has been drawn to some unethical practices being perpetrated by faceless individuals disguising as its staff, demanding and receiving money from unsuspecting members of the public, purportedly to secure a COVID-19 target credit facility. Head Corporate Communications of the bank, Ugwa Oyedibia, cautions the public against falling prey to such people, adding that the COVID-19 targeted credit facility being disbursed by the bank on behalf of the Central Bank of Nigeria is a loan, not a grant, and beneficiaries must pay back with interest, and for those already scammed should immediately lodge a complaint. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has said the process of financing of COVID-19 vaccines for Africa and the approach to addressing vaccine access, delivery and uptake in the continent has been difficult to navigate. Speaking at the virtual meeting, she raised issues on the modalities, noting that there is a need for greater inclusion and involvement of finance ministers as budgetary allocations need to be made. The minister is calling for transparency and support to address gaps, noting that COVID-19 is a multi-sectoral issue against the backdrop of challenges in receipt of COVID-19 vaccines rollout and the real-time information and funding gaps. Ahmed urged that access to vaccine financing should be simplified by supporting finance ministries with the necessary capacity required to complete what could often be a complex and bureaucratic process. According to her, funding needs to be flexible to support purchase or delivery of health systems and possible corporate social responsibility from banks. Still talking Afcfta, there has to be a deliberate policy to build Nigeria's roads, rails and ports networks if Nigerian businesses are to effectively participate and harness the huge opportunity of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Thus were the views of trade experts as they examine the significance of the Afcfta and how Nigerians SMEs can benefit from the agreement. Joy Uzo reports.
The conference attracted business owners and trade facilitation officials in the country and has as its theme repositioning businesses for African Continental Free Trade Area (Afcfta) in a post-COVID-19 era. Conveners are of the view that for them to fully benefit from the single market for goods and services which the Afcfta provides, it is critical that they take definite steps to position themselves strategically.
We are domesticating the various MDA's laws to make them to be compliant with the provision of what we ratify inside African Continental Free Trade Area. Because until domestication is done, we cannot actually use it under our law. So that is being done. Apart from that, there is massive sensitization going on. All what we need to do is to put in place the productive structure or things that we allow to be more productive is that we're having exportable products.
Every business needs to look inward and see how they can harness technology so as to benefit from the Afcfta. That for me is much more critical. And then finally, government needs to improve on infrastructure to benefit the MSMEs, which make up 80% of businesses in Nigeria.
Other keynote speakers who contributed virtually, including the Secretary, National Action Committee on Afcfta, Mr. Francis Anatogu, commended the effort to decentralize the focus of the agreement for the benefit of those at the grassroots level.
See what we can do with all the resources given to us. There's no local government in the south and south that doesn't have one thing that is particular, that doesn't have one product. So it is left for their government and the entrepreneurs to work up and then fine-tune this and set this product into the markets.
Nigeria is a country that is out to diversify, and the African Continental Trade Agreement is actually a good platform that will enable us spread, in areas of diversification that has to do with both imports and exports of our products.
The Institute of Export Operations and Management is a trade support institution established in 2014 to provide knowledge and technical support to stakeholders within the entire export business ecosystem. In Port Harcourt, Joy Uzo, NTA News.
Now joining us virtually to discuss the role Afcfta is playing towards economic recovery and growth of Nigeria and Africa as a whole is the Secretary, National Action Committee on Afcfta, Francis Anatogu. Glad to have you join us on Business Express.
Good afternoon. Glad to be here.
Okay, from January to date, can you give us an overview of Nigeria's progress in meeting the Afcfta agreement?
Okay, thank you very much. As you know, trade officially started on the 1st of January. And so we are right in the implementation stage of Afcfta. And in terms of that implementation, you can look at it from 3 areas. One is getting ready to start trading, and that involves implementing the rules of origin, finalizing the schedule, or essentially the products that will be subject to trade liberalization, finalizing that and making that public so that people know which products will be subject to liberalization. And other administrative processes that will be followed under Afcfta. So that is ongoing. And a part of that as well is streamlining the process for people to register to be able to trade under Afcfta. So that's it on one side. The other side is having that deliberate national strategy to succeed under Afcfta, and at the National Action Committee across sectors, and we've looked at cross sectors and looked at strategic enablers, defining specific interventions that we must undertake to be successful. And beyond developing it, we've also started playing it back to the stakeholders to ensure that there's alignment between what we are thinking at the National Action Committee and what the stakeholders actually think are the critical items. The third element is sensitization, and we have also started taking the message down to the grassroots. We have started a nationwide sensitization. We have visited 2 states, one in the northwest and northeast, and tomorrow and next we will be going to Nasarawa, taking the same message to a state in north central before taking it down to the south. The fourth one is something that has been happening and will continue to happen. The government and infrastructure program, the government ease of doing business program, and all other programs of government to grow and sustain our economy. So all these have been happening and will continue to happen.
Okay, what's your office doing to avail Nigerian businesses the opportunities available for favorable competition?
Okay. So the first thing is the sensitization that I mentioned. We've been holding out a series of sensitization programs online and physically on one hand. But beyond that, we have also started, we have defined those products, what we call arrowheads, those areas where Nigeria has competitive advantage and can take into the African market today. And for those ones, we've identified the markets where the markets that need them, and we've started breaking down the import requirements, because it's important to note that even when the tariffs come down, there are some import requirements that traders need to meet. A good one is quality requirements. And in fact, I didn't mention it earlier, the Federal Executive Council approved Nigeria's quality policy earlier in the year, and that's a massive massive one for us going into Afcfta. The other thing that we will be working with the industry associations to do is really matchmaking businesses. So we need to matchmake businesses across states, but we also need to matchmake businesses in Nigeria with their counterparts in other parts of the world. These are all things that that we are working on and rolling out, and we will start rolling them out as they mature.
Okay, the agreement requires participating countries to remove tariff from 90% of goods. Can we know the categories of goods to benefit from this tariff reduction?
So, so there are about 6,000 tariff lines. So if you take 90% of that, that is what will be subject to the liberalization. So it's difficult to name them off the cuff now, but I think the best thing would be to say in the next couple of weeks that list will be out. It will be on our website. It will be on customs website and other government websites, and Nigerians will know exactly what will be subject to liberalization, but also the rules of origin that will guide each product.
Okay. Talking about the rules of origin, where are we on enforcement of rules of origin?
Okay, so the agreement prescribes for an authority, a competent authority, to manage compliance and to manage the issuance of a certificate of origin. So essentially, an authority that would show that the goods that are coming in or going out meet the origin requirements. We're working with the stakeholders. We have defined what that authority should look like. We have socialized it with our stakeholders. We are deliberately working with stakeholders because it has to work for the private sector. We are taking lessons of taking lessons from ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme on how not to do it, but also taking lessons from other clients in terms of what needs to be done. So that we have our concept ready, and it's been undergoing reviews, and we expect will be approved and rolled out very, very shortly too.
Okay. Any products so far identified from across states with comparative advantage in this market?
So if you look at Africa, Africa imports 85% of a number of products. Let's take refined petroleum is one where we have competitive advantage, okay, and we can flood Africa. So Africa imports about $36 billion of that product annually. and it's something that we produce in Nigeria. So we must make sure that we remove all barriers to investment in our midstream and downstream oil and gas industry, to make sure that not only do we be the best that we can be locally, but we are able to supply Africa better than others, because we will be displacing others. That is one. Auto is another key one. Auto, again, over $30 billion of imports across Africa. And that is the key thing about auto, is that we talk about our logistics infrastructure. There is no better way to describe success under Afcfta as if the logistics, if the trucks, the ships carrying goods across Africa are made in Nigerian trucks, or made in Nigerian ships, or ships that are maintained in Nigeria. So this is a key sector. Now, the other one that you could talk about, I can't talk about Nollywood and entertainment industry. That one is, we already know. The financial services, we already know. But in there, the other one would be insurance. Insurance is a key one that we need to ramp up our capacity to supply Africa. Some of the products will be new, but this is a key area. And of course, digital technology. And lastly, we have a population of over 200 million people. So we shouldn't just be looking at training our people the Nigerian market. We should be looking at training our people to satisfy the African market, and that is huge.
Let's join Leah Katumba-Batunde for details on market activities last week.
The market declined further in the week under review as investors ignored companies' results. At the close of trade on Friday, the 50th March, the NSE All Share Index and market capitalization depreciated by 1.18% to close the week at 39,331.61 basis points and 20.578 trillion naira. A total turnover of 2.092 billion shares worth 29.744 billion naira in 24,238 deals were traded during the week by investors, with the financial services industry leading the activity chart. It contributed 78.06% and 36.06% to the total equity turnover volume and value. The consumer goods industry followed with 92.009 million shares worth 4.521 billion in 4,168 deals, while the third place was occupied by the oil and gas industry with a turnover of 91.34 million shares worth 10.527 billion naira in 1,471 deals. All other indices finished lower with the exception of the NSE Industrial Goods and NSE Sovereign Bond indices. They rose by 1.39% and 0.07%, while the NSE ASM index closed flat. Wema Bank, AXA Mansard Insurance and Zenith Bank emerged the top three stocks, and they jointly accounted for 903.561 million shares worth 5.564 billion in 4,017 deals. 56,069 units of exchange traded products ETPs valued at 411.581 million were traded in the course of the week in 12 deals. Also, a total of 4,550 units valued at 4.857 million naira were traded in the bond market in 8 deals. On the price movement chart, 14 equities appreciated, 71 equities depreciated, while 77 equities remained unchanged.
Let's turn our direction to the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Well, as you can see, the all-share index has gained 0.17% to end today's session at 39,396.57. 297.2 million shares valued at 3.1 billion naira exchange hands in 4,655 deals. Market capitalization stands at 20.6 trillion naira. Asia Pacific shares mix in fragile market environment has oil jumps more than 2%. Global stocks market is next. Asia Pacific markets struggled for gains on Monday as investors reacted to last week's U.S. jobs report that trounced expectations and fueled hopes for faster economic recovery. In Japan, the Nikkei reversed gains to close down 0.42% at 28,743.25. Chinese mainland shares also fell as Shanghai Composite declined 2.3% to 3,421.41. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index also fell 1.85%. Away from Asia, European markets edged higher Monday as global investors monitor progress towards a U.S. COVID relief bill against a backdrop of rising bond yields. German DAX, CAC 40 of France, and London FTSE all post gains. U.S. futures fell early Monday morning as new stimulus package from Washington headed towards final passage this week. Futures contracts tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average erased earlier gains on more than 100 points to trade fractionally lower. Those for S&P 500 were down 0.46%, while those for Nasdaq 100 slipped 170.5 points. Stock markets in Africa started the week on a mixed sentiment as vaccine rollout commenced in some parts of the continent. South Africa JSE Top 40, Namibia Overall Index, Tuni Index, and Nairobi All Shares started on a negative territory, except for Ghana GSC, which was flat. The dollar hovered near three-month highs on Monday after U.S. Senate passage of a bumper stimulus package and another sell-off in bond market, while currencies of major commodity exporters pull back as a broader risk on trade lost momentum. The Nigerian Export-Import Bank has injected more than 750 million naira into granite production in Kano. Aminu Umar reports that this is one of many interventions aimed at further diversification of the nation's export potentials and consolidation, as well as the capital base of Nigerian entrepreneurs for comparative advantages in the Continental Free Trade Agreement.
In the first instance, we supply the local market, but don't forget that free trade area has opened up, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they already have orders from some of the countries from across the border. Now the logistics is the problem, and which is the next level for us.
This is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now, and the hashtag is BizEx. Business Express returns Tuesday by 9:30 a.m. I am Musa Abubakar saying stay safe.